Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back to our Crusader Kings 3 roleplay series following Vemundr the Raven Killer, and we pick things back up here at a pivotal moment in Norse culture, and that is, as you can see here, the fate of the Norsemen. Traders, raiders, and mercenaries. Our Norse ancestors have long traveled from Scandinavia all throughout Europe and even beyond, leaving their mark everywhere they went. Now it appears that this age may be coming to an end, as our motherland is fractured by cultural differences and clan rivalries into Swedish, Danish, and Norwegian identities. What does this mean for the future of our people? And indeed, it is a question to ponder. And one interesting facet of this, as we take a look at the cultural map, we can see here the split between those three forenamed cultures: Danish, Swedish, Norwegian. But you'll see there is remnants of what we might consider this Old Norse culture. And obviously, this wasn't just one event that would have caused the split like this. The kind of differentiation between these cultures, between the languages and the customs of these regions here, would have been in the making over a long period of time. And obviously, they would have considered themselves, of distinct groups to some extent between that. But now that distinction seems to have become even more pronounced. However, with all things, it is still a little bit muddled, and that's why you still have some people who would be considered, from this older Norse, customs and cultures. But things are slowly diverging between these lands, and I like to think that the thing that prompted that event and to prompt this split to perhaps a more noticeable degree is the events going on here in Scandinavia, notably the war that we're participating in right now, and which is no doubt coming to a close. Because as you can see here, take a look at where most of the rebelling groups are from. Just kind of take a look and you can see, you can probably see where I'm getting, but it very much lines up with the split between the Norwegian and the Swedish here. And so the Swedish, for the most part, seem to be holding true to King Orvar here, who has converted to Catholicism, but yet the people still remain true. A lot of the powerful jarls and chieftains here, as you can see, whereas a lot of the rebelling ones here are Norwegian, as you can see by some of those. One of the more powerful ones is still technically Swedish, but if we go and take a look at the vast majority of the chieftains in his lands, you can see that, once again, largely Norwegian. And then there's also the kind of split here in Denmark here. So obviously that's been cut off from the Swedish lands for a very long time, in terms of the kingdoms, that is. And there's a split going on here too. And you can see that the King of Denmark obviously is Danish, but the Queen of Pomerania, Queen Bjorg here, who ruled or was, grew up in these lands, I believe, rather than in Denmark, has a slightly different kind of culture and like a different take on things than Denmark here, like on the actual islands, particularly. So it's an interesting kind of distinction that's arising now. Obviously, Vemundr would still be what we would consider to be Norse, even though his family originally came from the Vestfold here. So this is where Harold Fairhair originally starts. So we would have been Norwegian if we hadn't left and gone to these lands a long time ago. And as we can see, if we take a look at the cultures here, we can see that the Galician culture, which is the Norse Galician hybrid, is has actually taken over those lands here from King Stein pretty significantly. In fact, most of the people in those lands who are once native Galicians and the Norse have intermingled to a point where the majority of this land could be considered to be of this new Galician culture. I know they sound exactly the same, but it's obviously a difference that you would see in the people, because they do have some interesting mixtures here. Highland warriors, Ting meet, northern stories, coastal warriors. So obviously, there's still a lot of the Norse culture is coming through because of the Norse dominance in the upper class. But this monastic tradition and things like that is something that has come through from the Galicians, and so they do speak the Iberian vulgar language as well. So they've come to speak the language here, and we can see the Castilian culture as well, which has obviously spread a little bit, but not it hasn't been the ruling class of the kingdom. And as we take a look at those kingdoms, we can see now after the events of that last episode, where King Stein pulled off his epic plot that I didn't see coming, but getting his daughter on the throne of Galicia, or of on the throne of Castile. Well, you can see that he's pulled off his ultimate plot here, and his daughter does still rule in Castile here, particularly in Yinglingland, which is the capital region. But I have given Stein the kingdom title because I think that was just obviously part of the plan that, he might put his daughter at, his 18-year-old daughter here as the, nominal ruler of the lands, but King Stein obviously would be taking, ultimate control there. And I imagine that it's pretty close to a similar situation here with the Ravensblood as well, although they're probably a little bit better able to stave off, directly calling Stein the overlord here. But it's probably a close thing considering how close their ties are and the power that Stein has over them, not only just politically, but also in troops as well. So our family, the Scallendils, is in a very precarious situation, considering that they are now the only Christian rulers within this region, and they no longer have a king or a ruler who is of the Christian faith as well. So the Scallendils are in some trouble. Jarl Christina, she might be known as the Strong, and she's obviously an extremely capable woman. But she's gonna be hard pressed here. I mean, she's 57 years old. She's like, can she secure her lands from this the encroachment now of the Norse, who are probably seeing her as a threat? That's tough to say. And she's 57 and her heir is her daughter Bergthora here. I'm probably still pronouncing that wrong, but I try. She doesn't seem to be quite as cut of the same stuff as Ivar and Christina, so she might have a great difficulty staving off the predations of the Norse upon the lands that once or belonged to our family here. Interesting little note. Some of you will remember this man, Saib Jatir. This is who she's matrilineally married to. Saib Jatir, this man was like the caravan master, I believe, for Ivar like a long time ago. And he's still around. So that's actually really, really interesting. I wonder if we can take a look at his memories. No, it unfortunately doesn't show anything about with Ivar, but I'm pretty sure Saib Jatir was a man who was with Ivar for like a long, long time. So this guy has been around for a while. But anyways, that situation, yeah, pretty interesting. So the whole Norse cultural situation, and obviously we've got, Norse still here in England, but they are starting to be heavily weeded out here. I mean, we've got, like a Franconian over here. Gwynedd is now ruled by Welsh, although, they still follow the Old Norse faith. These are obviously Hastings descendants. However, these ones at least have converted over to the local Welsh religion. And then we've got we've got an Anglo-Saxon over here. Northride Anglo-Saxon. We've got Gaelics up here. And then Lancaster, like the last kind of Norse bastion that I'm seeing anyways, in England. So Lancaster is, yeah, there's not much. Oh, here we got an Santro Gaelic here. Oh, here's some Norse. Okay, so there are some Norse in Scotland in Galway? Yeah, Galway here. But it's, yeah, starting to look. Oh, and we've got a Norse here, Jarl Huld. So the situation for the Norse in the Isles definitely looking a little bit rough there. Pretty secure here in northern Iberia, and there's obviously Iceland as well. But yeah, that's the situation. I wanted to kind of go over that because I thought that was a really interesting turn of events, and even though it doesn't necessarily directly affect Vemundr or his plans, it does go to show um the dynamic, like, cultural changes that are going on around him. And like I said, this is all happening like over time, but these identities are kind of building up, and that leaves Vemundr in a place where, like, what is his identity? Because somebody pointed this out. Vemundr grew up on the road. Like, he spent almost all of his, formative years on Ivar's great journey. He was, I think, like maybe like what, 2 or 3 when they left Iberia. And then he was, I think, like 15 or 16 or maybe 17 already by the time they returned. So, Vemundr has always been a man who, you know, was never, his culture was just the culture of Ivar's camp, if you think about it. And when he went and joined the the Varangian Guard here, that was him trying to reconnect with his Norse heritage. And, he had to break his oath and come back to his lands, for his family, which he did. But even then, he found himself as something of an outsider, because even though there was this, Castalian culture that was developing, that was never really his either. And so he goes back only to, he goes back to the land of his people, of his grandfather and his, even Ivar himself was born in Norway. And so he comes back to this land and he sees it just like in this chaos, the Christians encroaching upon them, the people, being split in this way, these great kingdoms falling. And imagine like what that would do to a man who, came back to Scandinavia hoping to connect with something in his, cultural heritage and his past. And he finds himself in this situation. Now, he might not be a sentimental man, but I can't help but imagine that this would affect him, especially as somebody who isn't necessarily deeply religious, but, more is just trying to find like a place that, where he can feel a connection to. And so he comes back to it and he finds this. It's an interesting thing to consider. And so I just wanted to spend a little bit of time going over that, because I think it adds a fascinating facet to Vemundr's story here, especially as he, gets old, and he's 60 years old here. But regardless, we do have that war to fight, this war that is really causing the division between the Norwegians and the Swedish. And Vemundr has obviously had a large part to play in that. I mean, as you can see here, we have essentially turned things around in favor of our allies. We could potentially go, no, okay, we don't even need to engage them. We hold the river here, or I guess this is just a big fjord or the river mouth? I don't know. Whatever it is, we're holding it from the enemy. And it seems as though with the heartland of Sweden captured, it does seem like the Swedish king will have to give up his throne in favor of his brother. And so King Orvar is deposed. Yeah, there we go. All right. So the war against the tyranny is over. So be it. And I believe that we got our money. Yeah, we did get paid. So that is excellent news. And then we do see, he's deposed. I wonder if that's just a bug. Clan title claimants. Battle history. interesting. I feel like that war was supposed to end with this guy losing his throne to Jarl Bjorn. Somebody tell me if I just read that wrong, but in my opinion, like, I don't know, maybe they put Bjorn on the throne of Norway. That could actually be an interesting kind of turn of events there. But yeah, I feel like something was supposed to happen there. I'm pretty sure it said that King Orvar is deposed, and he does not look deposed. Well, I might go and take a look at that post game, but for now, I mean, we did win the war, and so I suppose there's no real delaying it. I mean, Vemundr, he's come to this land, first for revenge, but secondly to find a place that he can call his own, a hall that is his own, for he has never had that. He's always been a man who lived on the road, or stayed with was staying with family, or was in the camp, or was in service to the emperor, but he's never had a hall of his own. And I think that in his long journeys in this region and the time that he spent here fighting and exploring, I think he's found a home, and I think that is Gotland. I mean, it's the perfect place for a man like Vemundr, who probably, doesn't really like other people all that much. And so I think that this is where it is finally time for us to do what we have long talked about doing, and that is getting our character some land. And so we can already see that Queen Bjorg here, who has converted to Catholicism, I should note, so we're not going to feel bad at all about taking the lands from her, is currently in a war with Lithuania as well, so she's going to have a lot of trouble with that. But in order to solidify our hold over Visby here and over Gotland, which is ruled by Chiefess Astrid here, there's one thing that we can do, and that is to marry our concubine, Unnr Eilifr's daughter of House Hammer. As you will recall, House Hammer actually owned a lot of these lands. It seems like they've been ousted, actually. Let's take a look at her. Yeah, so her... Oh, no, okay, so her niece is Queen Bjorg here. Interesting. But yeah, House Hammer once ruled a lot of these lands, and still, their families' relations still sit on a lot of these thrones and a lot of these lands. So we're going to marry our woman, and she seems to like us well enough. So let's arrange that marriage here. There we go. And as you can see right here, she actually has claims on the Jarldom of Visby. So this is just really solidifying it. Not that we really need anything other than the right of our arms, but having her here is definitely a political move that will, give Vemundr a lot more legitimacy to pull this off. So we are going to... Okay, we got to move our camp out of our realm. We can do that easily enough. So let's just head out over here. Not going to worry too much about the danger. All right, let's go here. I do want to get some food quickly. Make sure our army, as you can see, we still do have to pay for our provisions. So make sure we can get ourselves some food. So we bring in enough provisions for a couple months. I don't really want to spend too much money, and I don't think that this war is going to take us more than a couple months. So yeah, we could get some more money some other ways, do some jobs, but I don't think that Vemundr cares to waste time. He is old. We can... Oh, wow, we can do an Adventure Kingdom invasion? Yeah, but we're not going to do that. We only want the Duchy of Visby here. Yeah, so I don't see cost 1,000. Yeah, we've got the prestige for it, so I mean, I don't see any reason to delay. I think it's time for Vemundr to take some land for his own. So our troops are going to rise up. I think we're just going to immediately sail to Visby. And we'll get the holding here very quickly and start building up that war score. And after that, we'll have to see what they do with their armies. I mean, they're obviously, oh man, these contracts probably would have been nice. Yeah, it would have been a nice amount of money. But you know, can't do it. I mean, Vemundr he's getting old, guys. He might not last that much longer. So I think we really got to make sure that he achieves the last of his goals here while he's still healthy enough to do so. And you know, he does have his son here, Yorleif, to take over for him once it's done. And Yorleif is turning into a pretty reasonable, you know, warrior at the very least. Not a likable man by any means, but the type of man you can respect. And there you go. He even just grew a beard while we were looking at him. So clearly he's, you know, becoming a man. A scheme at camp. Someone's planning to kill Ragnar. We'll find out who did it or is planning to do it and deal with them. All right, so here is the Pomeranian army. We'll see if they are daring enough to try to land on the island. The killing weapon of fame. My lord, did you hear the news? Armorer Gerulf approaches me. The fame of Lord Vemundr's Heftinger of Virtue. The Heftinger of Virtue. It suddenly got a new name. I changed the name to Heftinger, but which is like the Avenger, essentially. But apparently it's got a new name. Everybody speaks with admiration of the invincible weapon that cuts down enemies as easily as flowers in a field and of its glorious owner. Okay, isn't that kind of awesome, though? This is the weapon, and actually we can take a look at it here. This is literally a weapon that has dealt with, like, many of our enemies. So if we look, we can see the kills with this weapon. Yeah, Captain Arunus of the Galisian band, Prince Jorundr of Castali, Prince Ulfric, Eirikur's son. Yeah, this weapon's got some names, you know, kills to its name. It might not be a famous sword, but a famous, you know, spears were obviously a very common and well-used weapon in these times. You know, in the shield wall, a spear will serve you well, and so it's kind of pretty cool that. And Heftinger has gained renowned weapons, so it gains a little bonus extra prestige. That's going to be good once we are landed tribal character, because prestige is what we are going to need. Yeah, here we go. We're doing the siege. I think they are. Are they really going to try to land here? No, that would have been crazy of them to try to do that. So we're going to siege down the land. A follower's heart, my lord Vemundr, my leader. I have met the most bewitching man here in Gotland. My follower, Freydis Herjolf's daughter. Oh, this is the wife of Njord. Huh. I mean, if you can attract them. No, they never. This literally never works. I don't believe the percentage. We could take her as our own woman. You know, maybe Njord wouldn't, you know, gotta look after her, right? Maybe. She does have good, she is a good looking woman. Vemundr, you're a callous man. But, that's the, you know, he isn't a good guy. I think we can safely say that. He's not a good guy, but he is a man who that you can respect. Maybe not even, but certainly a man to be feared. And I think in this time that would count for a lot. And I mean, he's turned into a capable commander. He's only got the 2-star trait, but he's got a lot of experience. You know, risk taker, military engineer, master of logistics. That's probably helped him a lot, and was probably partially from, you know, his journeying with Ivar all those many years ago. It's been a long time since Ivar's journey. It's gotta have been, yeah, over like 40 years since Ivar went on his great adventure. Huh. Kind of crazy to think. All right, we are going to take Gotland here. It seems like in just a moment. So there we go. Oh, and we've captured some prisoners as well. Oh, and we've got I see. Oh, we've got the mother of the current chiefess as well. Well, we'll hold them prisoners for now. Okay, where's the enemy army? Do we know? No, so I suppose we'll go for her capital. Where is she? She's in the capital. So if we can take the capital, we might be able to capture the queen. And that could give us an easy victory here. Oh, what? Sweden? No, okay. I thought Sweden was breaking up again now, but yeah, like I said, I do feel like that whole thing was bugged. Oh, but then Bjorn died. And his son is a Catholic Basque? Oh, his other sons. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, I feel like the Norwegians are, at least with that war, you'd think that some of these Norwegians would have broken free there, but yeah, somebody let me know if I just interpreted that whole, the end of the war wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was supposed to lose his throne. Oh well. We will sort things out another time. For now, we have a battle, well, or a siege to engage here with our enemies. She's pregnant, perhaps just in time to be captured. Or is she? Maybe she's just holding her beer-filled belly. So it doesn't seem to show the pregnant trait there. All right, let's get this siege done. Is our enemy gonna try to land on Gotland? We'll see. We can take their capital and then pull off maybe one victory in battle, then we should probably easily have the war score we would need. What do we have here? Arrange a betrothal between your very short son and my daughter Halfreader. Who are you, Jamtland? He's Norwegian. Oh wow, you're from way up here? No, I think that we're gonna be able to get better marriages once we are the Jarl of Gotland. Yeah. I can't imagine. It might seem like a coincidence that it's called Gotland, and I wonder if that has anything to do with goats or if it's more just related to the Goths. I assume the latter, but you never know with some of these names. Perhaps it's both. Land of the Goths and the land of the goats. Suppose we may never know. Let's see here. Yeah, I imagine the enemy army is probably still somewhere trying to fend off Lithuania here. Yeah, because they're attacking in a conquest. Yeah, she's this Queen Bjorg is gonna have her work cut out for her. Scheme at camp. Somebody's plotting. Hey, stop the plotting here. The traitor be known to all. I hate dealing with the plots in my camp. I wish you could just I wish one of the things you could do with your, I don't know, with those events is just like, don't bother me with this nonsense kind of thing. Hjalmar was killed in the siege of Segovia by King Stein? Oh my. Oh man. What? Hjalmar was killed by King Stein during the siege of Segovia. Defending against Jarl Christina. Huh. Wow, Christina teamed up with Navarra to try to stop Stein? Damn, Christina. That is bold. Oh man, I almost like I almost want to go back and help him. Huh. And yeah, oh man, I know in the last episode I said we wouldn't go back for Njord. that I thought that nothing would bring Vemundr back to Iberia. But if Christina, his sister, sent him a letter, explaining the situation that Stein was behind Njord's death, that Stein was, trying to finish the job that the Inklings started when they tried to oust our family. Would Vemundr heed that? His son still lives in those lands. His son is fighting for the family. Oh man, I honestly, that is a good question. And I feel like I have to leave things here because I do want to hear your comments, but I think that this might be the one thing that could get Vemundr to return. Not that he would stop his war here, but that he would join his sister. I think that's a very good question, and I think I will leave that for the next episode. I thought that we were gonna come to an end here, but it seems like the story has other plans in mind, and so yeah, I am gonna end the episode here, and we will make a decision in the next one. But until then, Wanderers, thank you for watching.